Hello everyone, I hope you're all having a lovely day. So in this following video, I will be showing you guys the real time of how I basically kit bash or combine booth outfits over to Vroid models, or how I basically just put booth outfits in general, for, any sort of model basically. Just a real-time showcase. This isn't really much of a tutorial per se. This is just simply a showcase. Since so I have made other tutorials that talk about how I did the process of doing the whole kit bashing or combining. Again, there's multiple words when it comes to putting a boost outfit on a model. It can be called kit bashing. It could be called attaching, combining, Frankensteining even. Like there are different wordings when it comes to it, but overall they mean the same thing basically. It's just like how there's multiple words for blend shapes or shape keys or flex animations, whatever you call it. So it's pretty much like that basically, but either way, the point of this is mainly just for people who want to see me real time, or like basically just real time, they want to see like a more complex example of how I do this. You can actually see behind the scenes. Also, real quickly, let me go ahead and add the screencast keys before I forget completely. But this is basically just, for anyone who prefers to see me work real time. Kind of like whenever you watch me stream, and then I usually like show my works there. It's like that, although it is a bit different. So yeah, let's see, that is the outfit. So basically what I did, of course, to start off is I started off, of course, scaling the armature. And then right now, as you can see, which this process does take a while depending on the outfit. But this is where I will be taking the outfit and I'm trying to scale it to fit, basically. Which this can be a bit time consuming. But as long as you do it properly, this can actually be, depending on how it's done, it could be well fitted for your model, basically. So, yeah. Alright. And as you can see, things are starting to get more well fitted. I'm not going to worry about the materials, pretty much. My only main concern is just so you guys can see what goes on behind the scenes. And for anyone who wants to sort of replicate what I do, you could just see my every mouse movement and everything that I do to do this whole process, basically. And again, if you do have questions regarding how I do the whole process, again, feel free to check out the actual multiple tutorials that go over how to do this. Because again, I do have 4 other tutorials that show you guys how to do this process. But of course, if by any chance, even with the tutorials, you still don't understand it, I do recommend do take time to learn the basics of Blender. Because the thing is that if you don't know the basics of Blender, you will have a hard time getting this to work. Because again, you need to know the basics before you go into the advanced stuff, basically. So keep that in mind as you approach 3D, basically, that you just at least need to learn the basics. You don't have to learn anything super complex or anything like that. Like, no. You just have to learn just basic controls. And once you learn that, you'll be pretty good, basically. Just the basics, nothing more than that. So yeah. But as you can see, we already fitted the top of the dress there. We also have the sleeves and this there. The skirt is actually pretty fine. We do have to fit the pants there though, and then adjust the bow. Right, let's see here. So we're gonna move this back because this is a glove, like a sort of glove sort of thing, basically. Kind of like that. Da, 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 da. Yeah, it should go something like this, I believe. Something. All right. But yeah, pretty much. Let's see then. Just making sure that there is no other weird clipping. For the nails, this one's a little trickier. Well, not really. It's just more time consuming for the nails. But I'm still gonna show you anyways how I did it. Since, you know, in case, because there are times where when I work on commissions, I do have requests where people want me to put like pre-existing nails on the model, basically. So there will be requests like that, because sometimes like the nails may have like really nice details, like the ones that you're seeing on this outfit. This one does have some really nice and cute nails, so I'll still be showing you how the nails are in case, you know, if you do wish to put nails on your model that are pre-existing. So I would recommend, of course, deleting the nails from the original model. But of course, there are times where like the nails may actually be already like modeled into the model's fingers, basically. Like, it's like where the nails are harder to detach, if that makes sense, basically. So for cases like that, you're probably gonna have to do a little heavier modeling work when it comes to like deleting a pre-existing nail. Or if you want, you could just like slap it on top of it and then pretend nobody sees the under nail. So there's that, but for the most part, I would just edit the nail from the original model if I have to put pre-existing ones. Alright, so alright, so now that we got that, now we just have to line them up per finger, basically. Which, again, I start off by looking at the top part because I want to make sure that alignment-wise, it's all good. That way it's a lot more easier for me to just like line up here. So instead of like clicking and dragging at different angles trying to get it to work, start off by one angle or like one perspective, and then do the other perspective basically, and then like adjust as you go, basically, just so you don't take too much time editing. Because sometimes even when I modeled, right, I think in my earlier years, but even probably to this very day, sometimes I would have it where I would be editing a model and I would do one angle, right, but then like I would then edit on another angle, but then I keep re-editing over and over, basically. Like it's like I keep editing nonstop. So I always have to remind myself, just focus on making one perspective. Like, let's say make the front look perfect, and then on the side don't move it up or down or anything like that. Just, you know, adjust it from the side, basically. This is something I do with face modeling, just giving an example. Focus on one perspective, and then pretty much take your time on the other side, but also try your best not to frick up the other perspective, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's just like a quick thing. I mean, again, for a lot of times, like, it really depends on what you want to do with the model, really, or how you want to edit it. So I can't really say do this specific edit, because again, it really depends on preference too. So yeah. But do keep that in mind too, definitely. Everyone does have a preference, so even like what you see right now, how I'm attaching like the nails or how I'm attaching the outfit to the model, basically, some people may not like this method that I'm using, and there may be other methods that you might actually end up preferring more. Because I know that there are multiple methods to being able to combine a boost outfit to your Vroid model or just your model in general. Like, there are definitely multiple ways. This isn't the only way, but this is my way. I'm showing it. And you can take on what I show, and then you can teach it to other people if you found like a different method, which I would definitely recommend. Like, if you find another method and it's like, you know, it's a very good method and you want to share it to the world, then by all means, as long as it makes sense, as long as it's very good, you may share the advice. Share the advice about what you learned about 3D is highly encouraged, because, you know, when it comes to the 3D world, like, you know, keep making stuff that you want, but of course, if you wish, again, you don't have to, but to each their own. It would be very appreciative if you do share, like, your knowledge, of course. What do you learn and all that? But again, not everyone has to do that. It is okay. Every artist, if they want to share their knowledge, they may. If they don't want to share their knowledge, perfectly fine. As long as we respect all our choices. As long as we, at least, to each artist, of course, we find our own workflow when it comes to 3D, basically. So always remember that. Always remember. Find your workflow, and then you can stick with the workflow, but also don't be too afraid to change your workflow either, because 3D does change a lot. And there may be techniques that you may learn that are even better than before. So don't be afraid to change either. Change is very essential when it comes to life. Like, life in general, you know? Always changing and going. Just like 3D. 3D, we're always changing and going. And this is the part where I'm going to use connected only, proportional edit, and this is the part I'm going to take this and just adjust it. I'm going to have to delete the inner, also gotta do this, where I'm going to have to change like the inner foot area because these shoes are not aligned, unless we can get it aligned. Let's see. Yeah, so we can go ahead and of course delete the foot here, so we can do that, and then we can sort of like scale this to be a little bit smaller, and you will not even notice a thing. Haha. Alright, so now that we got that, we got the pants fit on, the little bow is more corrected, the nails should be good, and then we got this, and the collar should be good now. We're just double checking to make sure we're not missing anything, basically. But yeah, once you have that now, oh, we are missing a little spot right here, so let's adjust it. Adjust. Alright, so once we have that, now what we can do is we can now begin the armature retargeting process, where we're going to take this armature and prepare it for the Vroid model's armature, basically. So this one can be a little tricky, but I promise you, as you advance through it, or at least as you advance through kit bashing, you know, and putting booth outfits to your models, eventually you will understand the process and you will love it. I wouldn't say you will love it entirely. It's more of like, you'll get used to it. Again, 3D is painful. Even if you're modeling from scratch, it will be painful. But it will become muscle memory to the point where it doesn't become as painful. It's like second nature, basically. But anyways, as you just saw, I did merge the had to merge the headphone piece, basically. And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna move the armature here front temporarily, and we're going to begin with retargeting or renaming the we're going to be renaming the bones of the outfit so it can match the Vroid model, basically. So pretty much, let's go ahead and select this bone here. Just gonna go ahead, we're gonna start off by renaming the leg bones. It's the first. That's the first thing we're gonna do. Rename the humanoid bones. And then once we rename more of the humanoid bones, then we're gonna figure, well, I know how to get the physics to the model, but we'll do that after we figure out, or after we, I always say figure out, no, that's not the right term, that we actually get the things renamed, basically. So right now, as you can see, I'm renaming the bones because they do have, because the original outfit, it has properly named bones, but because of Roy Mall's bones, they have a really derpy name that I do not personally like, but it is what it is. then I have to name it according to the Vroid model. Unless, like, of course, I can rename the Vroid model's armature, but just, you know, in case, like, let's say you want to keep the colliders from, you know, let's say you're using the VRM copy add-on, right? And you want to copy the settings properly and keep your colliders intact and even some of your physics, right? So for a case like that, then you're probably gonna want to keep the original bone names of the Vroid model. It depends. It depends to each peep, basically. I'm also gonna go ahead and just copy this first part of the Vroid model's name, just so it's a little easier for me to do the renaming process, basically. Just a quick rename. Alright, so at least we got at least the spine and the legs, so we can go ahead real quick and retarget the empty groups. We can also put the pants on the model. Then we can also put this on the model, the microphone. There you go. So if it goes from here to there, then you know that it's properly retargeted. Otherwise, if not, then it's just gonna stay put, or it's gonna stretch weirdly, so yeah. This one, there are shoulder bones that we have to keep in mind about. So let's go ahead and copy the shoulder bone names. And once we reach down to the wrist, we can retarget more stuff. But for this part, these two here, we need to actually get the physics over there. So let's just go ahead and finish like renaming the bones basically here. So let's see here. So I'm gonna hide these bones temporarily. Name these here. Name that. And then upper arm right there. And then there you go. Lower arm. There you go. And then we gotta get the wrist, and then we can be able... Oh yeah, before we actually get the little thing over here, we also gotta rename the fingers. But the only fingers we really have to rename is the entire thumb, and then the tips of the fingers here. And then it'll be properly... It can be able to go to the main armature. Alright. So here we are. Again, the thing about the whole combining the booth outfits to your model, it's mainly just, it's not, it can be time consuming, but it depends on the outfit, I will say. It depends on the outfit, because every outfit has their own complexity of levels. Like, you may have like a shirt, right? Like you want to put a shirt on your model, then in that case it'll probably be a lot more easier for you to do. But if your model has more bones, then you might actually struggle a little bit more. I'm not saying it's impossible, because again, when it comes to, you know, these outfits, they are made so you can put on your model. In fact, anything with 3D, anything that has vertices, bones, and all that, they can always be edited. Because, you know, where did the 3D model come from? Humans. Us humans made the 3D model, so as long as it has vertices and such, it can be edited, it can be modified. Again, you know, if someone says that they don't want their model modified, I mean, still respect the wishes, but when it comes to booth outfits, as long as they allow commercial use and editing and such, then, you know, by all means, do what you wish. But pretty much, as long as you just have the proper workflow down, even if it's not even this workflow that I'm doing here, if it's your own, as long as you got a workflow, stick with it. Also, my nose is really, really sneezy because I do have allergies, so do excuse if I sneeze during the recording, which I don't think I will, but if basically, because it's basically if you hear my nose, then just please excuse it. But yeah, so alright, so now we gotta go through the other side, and then we can put these over there, and then we have to put the physics on the model, and that way the process should be complete, basically. Alright, so there you go. Go ahead and copy the names here. That one's a ring. And this one is the... And I'm not gonna bother worrying about the other fingers because, again, I have put this outfit on a different client, you know, my client Alice. And when I was doing the whole thing, I didn't have to really rename everything else because, again, it's unnecessary. I mean, you can if you want, but it's not necessary because there is no weight paint data connecting these meshes over to the model, so it's fine. There you go. Now we have that. And then last but not least, we have the main dress. Also, this one can also be transferred over. But we do have the main big dress. We have the giant ribbon, then we have the skirt, and then we have the shirt. And the thing also, oh yeah, we also have the collar, which that can also be changed over to here. Now, I will say this as a note, by the way, as a note. If you feel overwhelmed by the amount of bones this has, all I can say is try to break it down, right? Because it looks like a lot. Like, if I'm looking at it from far away, it's like, oh my god, that looks disgusting. That looks scary. What do I do? Start simple. Because what I did was I started off with renaming the humanoid bones to the Vroid model. So, break it down. For this case, what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this armature. And then we're going to break it down. Because what we need is just the physics bones. We do not need the extra bone stuff here. We only want the physics. So keep it simple. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to delete all the other bones that are becoming a bit of a distractor. Like the legs and the arm, because again, we already have legs and arms on the main model. But we want it where... we want to basically find the root bones. Now, sometimes some models may not have a root bone, keep that in mind. But a lot of models, they tend to have it. But again, not every model does have one. So just keep that in mind. So basically what I'm doing right now is I'm scaling down the actual... I'm scaling down the actual bones here. And I'm gonna try and simplify. Like, you can still keep the root bones. The reason why they also exist is mainly because, like, dynamic bones can make it more easier to, like, set up the physics here. But otherwise, me personally, I do not set up root bones, but again, that's to each their own. But, you know, people do set up root bones, so yeah. For me right now, I am merging the root bones over to the main parents just so my brain can, like, have an easier time. But again, it is up to you. It is up to you on if you, it's up to you if you by any chance want to have a root bone. So yeah. Depends on your case. Alright. So I'm deleting the chest bones because I know that there are nothing parented to them. These arm bones can also go away. Alt-H. And then we'll have it, so... let's see, so we need to merge to parents, So they basically, these are going to... I'm basically making sort of like temporary root bones that will eventually be merged to the main model. So what I have here, I have the spine, the chest, the hip root bone in quotations, and then the shoulders. And as long as we have these parented to the right bones, then the physics will be connected properly. So I'm going to go ahead and combine these together. I will also, because there is only 2 spine bones, I will merge the third one. I don't recommend it, but if you're going to do it for VR chat, you might want to do that. you might want to do it. I don't know. I don't play VR chat or anything like that. So please don't ask me any VR chat stuff, but from what I heard, you may have to do that. Alright, so spine. Here, we're gonna merge the parents. And then find the hip bone here. Parent to the hip. And then merge the parents. And then what we're going to do is take the shoulders, parent them accordingly, and then we can merge these together. There you go. And there you go. Now we have it where the physics are now on the Vroid model. So that's good. Very good. So now this should be much more easier of a process, basically, because we can literally just, well, I do have to do some quick, because I did forget to rename the chest bones. That's another thing too. If you have a feminine avatar and it has like chest bones, please make sure you also rename them too. Don't forget that. So I'm gonna go ahead and rename mine here. And then, cause I do remember the chest names, so have to remember that too. All right. So now that we have that, and then I also have to, at least just in case, I'm going to merge the root bones for any like sort of weight paint data, so it does go to the right bones basically. I'll do that. Reduce appearance. And then we can actually go ahead and take these guys and put it on to connect with empty parents. Click and drag on the top hierarchy and move it here. Delete the old armature. And then test to make sure there is nothing stretching or being weird. There you go. And there you go. We now have it where the outfit is connected to the model. And again, you may have to do some weight paint edits, of course, or you may have to delete whatever is underneath the outfit so it is a match to the model. Like, let's say the shoulders, you may have to do some weight paint work or some weight paint transfer and all that, but I'm not going to worry about that. That stuff can get a little bit overcomplicated, at least for like the demo video. But again, for certain cases, you would probably have to do a lot of intense weight paint edits. And also, what's funny, by the way, is that originally this video was supposed to be like 30-40 minutes, but I was able to make it so it's now like just 30 minutes. I mean, it's about the same time, but at least it's a lot more less. Like, at least I got it done faster, so yeah, I think this was worth re-recording and having OBS crash my recordings and everything. Ha ha ha. But anyways, just before I go, I do also want to show you that with Wigglebone, in case you want to test out your physics, just in case, you know, for fun or to make sure that things are working properly. You can set up, I have a separate tutorial on how to do that, but you can set up Wigglebone. Now keep in mind, just because you set up Wigglebone, which is a free add-on, just because you set it up in Blender does not mean it will not convert to Unity, because Unity and Blender, they have different engines. They have different physics engines, so because of that, you cannot take Blender physics and put it into Unity. The only way you can do that is if you have a script that translates the physics calculations and, you know, converts it for the program, which it's usually MMD programs or the MMD add-ons that does that, because like MMD, you know, MMD is it's a very well-known program. A lot of people use it, and people want to put their MMD models into different programs. So there are people who make scripts to be able to translate the physics from MMD over to other engines, basically, which is really impressive, though. It's very impressive. But it is possible, but you will need a custom script, which for Wigglebone, there is none. For VRM Springbones, it depends. I believe, let's say for Unity to Unreal for VRM, there is one. I don't know. I'm not an Unreal Engine user. Um, but I believe for like VRM to Blender, no, there is none. That's why I use Wigglebone. Like, it's not impossible. I'm sure someone out there can be able to like code it. But yeah. Also, I do see some issues, of course, with I believe the chest bone. Oh, nope, never mind. That was just my imagination, I believe. I mean, there'll still be clipping. I'll have to, like, do edits with the physics, of course. But you get the point, basically, that you can be able to test the physics inside if you want to do it for fun. You can set up your materials here, set up some blend shapes if anything, and all that. So, yeah. But you get the point. This is pretty much just in the process of how I kitbash or combine booth outfits and such, and that's how the overall workflow is basically. It can be quick, it can also be very time consuming depending on what you want, but hopefully with this knowledge, if you're someone who wants to have a heck ton of outfits, you want like 50,000 outfits for your avatar, and hopefully with my tutorials, it can help you out, so that way you can understand, and of course, you can save yourself money too, because, you know, it helps a lot. But yeah, that's all I have to say. If you have any other questions regarding the whole process of combining booth outfits and such to your models and such, even like whether it's Vroid or non-Vroid, let me know. Comment it down if you have a tutorial request or anything like that. Do keep in mind I do not do private tutoring as I am very busy. I do have my own life. So please keep that in mind. I can't do private tutoring full time. But of course you are free to ask any questions, but again, you will have to do some external researching, and you also have to do your own self-experimentation on what you prefer to do with 3D. But either way, just have fun, you know, have fun. Do not set up deadlines or anything for yourself. Like, take your time, and have fun, basically. But I'll leave my socials here, and I hope you guys have a lovely day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!